Hi, welcome to the Andrew Buckle Bookshelf Tour. This one's number 7. It's not really a bookshelf, it's actually the pile that's sitting next to me as my soundproofing. Sound tile, whatever. Instead of using and sort of sticking them on the walls, I've actually just gone for books. Probably not the world's greatest way of doing it. I'm certain in recording studios, they do not use pile of books, but still, that's what I'm using. Fun and Games. I love this one. I love the old magazine as well. This one's from Abrahams. I love lots of Abrahams. Lots and lots of great books from them. And this one is from the old Fun and Games magazine. And you can see what it features. Mazes, crosswords, and I've actually done a few of them. Not particularly well, but I have gone through this and sort of entered in pencil. So I could, I suppose, at some point rub them out if I want to, maybe sell it on. But at this point, what a great little book. They do really quirky ones. That's one of the things that I like about Abrams. Not sort of your standard one, like there's a stickers one coming out soon that really looks great. Fun and Games, well, this one is definitely worth checking out. This is a lovely one. Yet another brilliant book from Yo Books. Produced lots and lots. This one's The Invisible Men, and this is by Ken Quattro. Really brilliant. Got like Matt Baker and many others. The thing about it, it's got lots of information, lots of illustrated pages there. Also lots of actual comic stories. Nicely not restored and all sort of cleaned up. It's really, really nice quality book. And some unusual ones. Not the works you're probably familiar with. So it's really quite fascinating going through this book. Nice thick, chunky book. Definitely worth checking out. This one is an unusual one. Now I can't say his name. I'm not even going to I'm not even going to say his name. There it is. That's the easiest way. Sometimes you get certain words you just sort of struggle with, and I've tried it about 15 times. God, say it, and then I just can't say it. A catalogue of original art and prints. And it's really, really nice. Colour and black and white, but it's like magazine covers, all the way from sort of like, unfortunately, let's see, it doesn't actually say the dates. It wouldn't be nice, but things like the Western Front, obviously, First World War, you've got here, Sphere. Oh, some have. So you've got here, April 1913. But still, really top quality artwork all the way through. Now, Book Palace, the publishers, they brought out a number of books of his works, and I think they're great. This is one like Ancient Roman, which is the sort of thing that I always loved. This one's a beautiful one. This was originally, I assume, in French, but this one's an English one, and this is The Heartthrobs. Now, I've seen it in a slight different format a few times, so obviously maybe there's other versions, but I think it's just a beautiful, beautiful book of a young lad sort of in France, and there's the details south of France, a multifaceted Max Cabans, and it's just a great, great book. I assume that copies are still readily available. Oh, it's $6.99 when I bought it, but European art, it says the pinnacle of European strip art, and I certainly think it's an absolutely fine work. It's of course soft paperback. This one's lovely. I love this one. Hermes Press. I haven't got too many Hermes Press. Got a few Gil Kane done ones that Hermes Press. This one's a similar sort of thing actually, because it's got a lot of Gil Kane in. And this one is the second generation of comic book artists. A really, really nice one. Lots of art pages, also covers, so you can see EC comics there. You can see things like the cover there to Atom, but certainly a lot of like Wally Wood got there. You've got Gil Kane, also things like here, Turok as well. So it's really nice. It's not just concentrating on Marvel and DC, the usual suspects, but Gold Key and others, which is always great. Tower Comics, and of course you've got like Steve Ditko there and that sort of thing. Really nice book. I assume this is long out of print. This is by Daniel Herman, and there's the details on the back. See there, silver. Let's say a lot about that Gil Kane, etc. Russ Heath. This one's a lovely one. 1978 Comic Art Convention. I'm not certain why I bought it at the time, but the reason I bought it, of course, Jeffrey Jones and, of course, Barry Windsor Smith, the studio. So you've got this and some fine examples all the way through. So it's a nice, you can see it's predominantly, obviously, the studio, but very, very nice quality one. Space Voyage, this sort of thing. Droulet as well. So, and also on the back, 1984. Also, I love that one, the timely one. You've got a lovely little strip there. Dracula. I love this. I got this when I was, for some reason, I don't know when this came out, about in the 70s, early 70s. I must have been about like 10 or 11 or something like that. I'm not really certain how. I think it was my nan. My nan actually bought this. She I can remember bringing it home and I was thinking, I have no idea what this is all about. It was like, to me, it was sword and sorcery and all that sort of thing. I mean, Esteban Maroto, and also some of the weirdest, surrealist sort of artwork. I just love this. I did actually get the Warren one as well, though I gave it away many years ago to my friends because it was, well, I didn't need it. Obviously, I had this because it's much the same. Now, I've always thought it was a pity that they've never actually brought out any more books of all the other issues, because there were 60 issues in total with Dracula. Now, this only featured the 12 that we got in the UK. And I mean, just the artwork all the way through it was just so beautiful. But not really sort of thing you think, you know, some of it was pretty weird. Like a 10-year-old sort of getting that. And I thought, you know what, I love that. And I've always loved this one. It's one of my favourite European books of all time. Spanish artist, just absolutely loved it. And this is just, you can see it's from one of my favourites, New English Library. They brought out so many great books. Bruce Pennington, lots of those covers and things and other books. I always loved Nell. Nell's always been one of those favourite ones that whenever I sort of see a Nell book, there's always something I think, oh, must have to check that out. And they do turn up fairly often, but I haven't seen a copy of that for a long time. Of course, you can get them. This one is, I think he's an excellent artist, another European artist, and I just love these ones. Sort of all set at sea, this one, and it's just beautiful, beautiful artwork. Now, I've actually done a few reviews for Dead Reckoning. One of the books was his artwork, and the main reason I went and got these because I just thought, wow, what an amazing artist. Really, really love these. But it is in French, so it's, you know, maybe not for everyone, but Riff Reb. And there's another one. And this one I think is even nicer. This one is very, very Jack London. Just Riff Rebs, just beautiful, beautiful artwork all the way through. And you can see the colour is superb. Love that sort of colouring, that sort of style. Doing the, maybe not for everyone, but certainly Sea Adventures. Just look at that, that's very unusual style. I mean, what an unusual way of doing a comic book. But beautiful, very nice, high quality book. And this one, well, £17.95 in euros. So I don't know if it's still readily available in print, but very nice quality book, this one. So if you're looking for a really brilliant European art, there's so many brilliant European artists, so many of these lovely books. Whenever I go to France or Italy or whatever, I love just popping into the comic shops there, and you just pick up so many brilliant books. But of course, they still turn up in things like Amazon, whatever. This one's amazing. This is part of a series of books. Now, this one's, I think, is Titan Books. You can see Titan Books there. Simon and Kirby Superheroes, and it is full of just so many great stories. Now, they're not, obviously they have been cleaned up, but they're still in a sort of style, the original sort of style. Not exactly, but at the same time you can see that obviously a bit of work has been done. They're not as sort of scanned, but it's just full of just classic stories from Simon Kirby and superheroes. And this is obviously an introduction by Neil Gaiman. Now, this copy I think I got for 50p or something, ridiculously cheap in a bookshop. And I thought, wow, what a great tome of the Lennon-McCartney of golden age of comic books. Just including never before seen rarities. This is another one in the series. There was a couple, there's like crime. I think there was a few other ones, romance probably. This one's the horror one. And they're quite thick, chunky books. It follows the same format. The style you can see here, Donovan's Demon, all 50s, that sort of period. I mean, the artwork is just great. Not all, actually some of it, I'm just looking at that, it looks a bit rough in places, but maybe obviously the material that they get it from, but it's still absolutely beautiful. The Simon, like I say, they produced a number, and this one's 300 pages of terrifying tales, as it says, which I think is great. And I love the way they've done that, sort of the cover way, and make it look sort of a book, sort of tilted. Always slightly odd when you look at that, because you look at it and think, oh, that's a bit strange, the way it's angled. And it's exactly the same the way they've done the superhero one. Again, I'm certain, does it say that? No. Strange. Oh, it's got just horror one there. But I just wondered if it had anything about, because there's all the listings. So you can see it's a lot of material there. The World of Spirits, etc., etc. And you can see the dates, 1952, 1954. They're from Black Magic, all the Harvey, all those sort of comics there. Strange World of Your Dreams, 1952. Massive amount of material. That old Black Magic. There. Now, this is a staggeringly brilliant book. I haven't finished it. I got about halfway through it. One day I will finish it, but it is a complex book. And Barry Windsor Smith, monsters. Really, really so. Now I think it's available now in paperback. This is like 1964, the year's 1964. The artwork is superb. It's not like the Conan artwork of Barry Windsor Smith. So if you Barry Windsor, you can see the style there. I just thought, wow, and very, very dense. There's certain times you look at it and you think, oh, sort of Weapon X, sort of that sort of style. But really impressive. Really love this work. It's all in black and white all the way through. Very, very dense. Brilliant. So that's definitely a book to check out. I don't know how successful it was. I'm not certain. I don't know if it was a fan favourite or not. I think it's just a brilliant, a masterpiece. Certainly really high up there. Barry, I think he took, can't remember what it said, it was like a long time to produce this. This is, Monster is surely one of the most intense graphic novels ever drawn. And I think it's definitely up there. Definitely amazing, amazing tome. Now, I'm quite certain that actually probably many Europeans have done some, you saw that sort of style, that sort of tense, you know, you come across that sort of thing, you think, wow, you know, when they do these like 20 volumes of books. But still, this one's amazing. Now, I never knew anything about this, but it's the sort of style and storyline I love. Hunter, the classic Warren Publishing, Heroes Complete Adventures. And I didn't know anything about it. I must admit, it was one of those ones I just going through and I suddenly saw it. I thought, Hunter, never heard of that. I thought, wow. And I really loved the artwork. And I love the story as well. The story is great. So you see, they're eerie, follows all the way through. It's, yeah, thoroughly enjoyable story. Yeah, I'll just quickly show you the back because it actually gives you the details of the story there. Son of a mutant general, etc., etc. Human mother. Hunter is a half-breed warrior who fights for survival in a weird, very dated. I'm not going to correct. Sometimes I might even learn to be able to speak the English language sometimes. Sometimes you get certain words and you suddenly think, how do you say that? It's terrible. But still, Dark Horse Comics. Absolutely lovely. Lovely book. I think they did a couple of these sort of ones, very similar sort of style. Alex Toth or Toth. People keep correcting me on those sorts of things. And also, of course, Steve Ditko. They did. I would love to see more of these sort of volumes. They're sort of lovely ones like that. Really nice. This is an unusual one. I wasn't really sure what I was going to get when I got this one. Hot Tips. And I think they've done similar sort of things. People have done hot tips from Top Comic Art. And this was quite a nice little book. But you've got loads like Art Adams, Jim Lee. And I think there was one that was probably more older artists. But this one, I think is still pretty good. Dave Gibbons, etc. And it's black and white all the way through. It's got some pictures. It's obviously got interviews and discussions about various, lots and lots of hints and tips and ideas about drawing, about comics. Like here, Frank Frazetta about I like some feedback, etc. So it's a fascinating one. 250 top writers, artists and other professionals there. Materials and supplies, techniques, tricks of the trade and so on. A world of inside information at your fingertips. That's a fairly thin book, a very unusual one. It's one of those ones that sort of when you're going through things you think, it's actually here, it says a comic interview publication. So that's probably obviously where all the material, I have no idea. I love Twomorrows. Twomorrows.com, one of the best sites as far as I'm concerned. It's one of those sites, as soon as I finish this, going through all this, I'll probably go and quickly have a look because I always suddenly reminds me, I think, oh, I haven't looked for a couple of months and then suddenly they're or whatever. And there'll be a load more books and you think, oh, when did that come out? Or when does that, that's coming out soon or whatever. Sometimes you see them and listings and you think, oh, that'd be great. But this one is just lovely. 1967, Flower Power and all that sort of thing. It's full of just, so it's not comics particularly, there's a bit of comics obviously, but groovy. And it's colour, it's got like the monkeys, it's got sort of obviously that sort of thing, lots of adverts, and it's all American. So there's very, if anything of UK or anywhere else, European of course, which of course, we did actually have a sort of 1967 Summer of Love and all that sort of thing in the UK as well. But sadly, for some weird reason, most of it obviously is completely ignored in this. But it would be, you've obviously got all the classic ones. Here it's got Monterey, I suspect, obviously Woodstock, whatever, Hair. Now I might be completely corrected. Someone will say it has got some stuff about UK, but I don't think so. Not very much, but it's got lots of great examples like the Brady Bunch, etc., who I never watched. Never come, or if I did, I'd probably watch 1 or 2 episodes at most. This one's lovely as well. Again, American, of course. This is Twomorrows as well. This one's American comic books, 1940s to 1980s, to the printed page. And it's just full of tons of things like Bob Hope and all the different TV series. Some, as again, because it's obviously in the UK, we didn't get to see. We saw like Walt Disney, those sort of ones. I love that show. For some weird reason, that's never been re-shown. There was loads of The Wonderful World of Walt Disney, and we never saw them. But you've got here loads of, like Bonanza, obviously we had that in the UK. But this one, Oh Susanna, I don't recall seeing that. I mean, it's possible. The Troubleshooters. Now, of course, we've had DVD sets and things that have come out where you can see this sort of material. But back in the 50s and 60s, I'm quite certain that, like Margie maybe, people, of course, will put comments saying, yes, of course it was on. But depending which channels, of course, you were watching, maybe it was on ITV or something. And I didn't have ITV, so not that much. The Wild, Wild West. And so on. Lots of great examples all the way through. This is, of course, all the comic books. So you've got the covers on the back. Space Cadet, Howdy Doody, Sergeant Bilko. That was on our TV. The Lois Lane, Winky Dink. The name's sort of vaguely familiar, but I must admit I can't remember anything about that. Don't touch that dial. I think I did. Probably turned it off quite a few times. I love this one. This is another one. This one's of Twomorrows. Part of a series of books. I think they did like Marvel comic in the 70s, 80s, 90s and whatever. I'm not certain. Don't hold me on that. And issue by issue. Of course, this is my favourite period, the 1960s. And I love this. This is a brilliant book. Now, it doesn't include everything. It would be lovely if it did. But it includes a lot of it. Unfortunately, that's one of the things that would have been nice, actually, because, of course, they mention a lot of details about, like, say here, Fantastic Four Annual #2. You've got Spider-Man 14, Tales to Astonish 60, and so on and so on. You go through all that. But things like Millie the Model, Rawhide Kid, they do get some mention. But, you know, it's... and they have some lovely bits of artwork here. Just classic bit of Spider-Man, Ditko Spider-Man. But really, it's sort of... But by the end, it sort of really becomes much more Tales of Suspense 80. And there's a lot of information. Of course, probably most people come to this book are probably looking for that sort of information. But it would have been nice to have had a little bit more about, you've got Fantastic Four, 61, 62, obviously the details, etc. And you've got on the back the classic images of all of the bullpen there. But it's a lovely book, all the same. Slight criticism, the fact they didn't mention Patsy Walker, Millie Model, because they did Kathy. There's a little bit at the start, briefly, the early part of the book, but not very much. Maybe because there wasn't that much information about those books and sort of analysis to be given. This one's a lovely one, similar to Twomorrows as well. Jack Kirby's Collector's 75 presents, and Stuff Said, the complete genesis of the Marvel Universe. And it's full of just quote after quote, backwards and forwards, and tons of things like this. I mean, just look at that. Brilliant page there. Beautiful. Ragnarok, Aftermath, and so on. Lots and lots of examples of these sort of things as well. But it's a beautiful little book. Stuff Said, Kirby and Lee. Really worth checking out. Fascinating book. This one, I think this is a long outprint, this one. This one again, another Twomorrows. I've got quite a few Twomorrows. I love them. Grail pages. Now, I haven't got much when it comes to original art. I've got about 3 pages. None, obviously, of the material that's featured in here. And it just features tons and tons of examples of some truly brilliant pages. Really first-rate pages. Obviously, some lesser so. But collectors, all the information about the collections. This one, theme collections, etc. Fascinating book. Really, really good. Now, Monstrolo, etc. Great title. But again, you've got the usual adverts out the back, of course, for the other books. But this is really worth checking out. If you're into original art pages, comic books, I think this book is definitely a must to check out. Just full of brilliant information. I mean, of course, the prices now, I don't know if the prices are mentioned here. If the prices are mentioned, I am certain now they're probably 2 or 3 times the price mentioned here. It mentions things like EC comics as well. It's not just Marvel or anything. It's a whole range of different comics. Oh, another Twomorrows. I think I just got here's one here, the 1970s one. I thought I had that. Old Gods. Now, I haven't read this one. I should read it, but I haven't read it yet. But it's still Because I got it mainly because it's a companion to the Fourth World, and I've got quite a few books of the Fourth World. I've read quite a lot of those, and I thought, you know what, I must get this to find out a little bit more information. It's just full of great information about new gods, etc. So it's just really worth checking out. And New Gods, again, another one from Twomorrows.com, and really worth checking out. Always generally soft paperback, though the groovy one was hardback. Whereas most I get always seem to be this. Sometimes they bring them out in hardback, sometimes not. They do vary in price as well. Also, another thing I like about them, if you can't get them, they often have them on sale as digital, which is always good. I knew I'd find it. Always the way. 1970s. I just talked about 1961. This one's 1970s. And in many ways, slightly worse in the sense that there's lots of gaps. They've got all the classic ones. It's in black and white all the way through. Lots of great examples all the way through. And you've got, of course, Conan the Barbarian 19. And I don't know, of course, it might have Conan the Barbarian 20, but sometimes it just doesn't. It just suddenly jumps forward and you might get, say, like issue 32 or something, or 33. You've got here, Dracula Lives 1. But you don't get every single comic, which is fine. It's absolutely fine. This is Conan the Barbarian 24, Marvel Premiere 7. But there are definitely gaps between lots of information about some of them. But because there's no... Maybe they just didn't have enough information about to justify. And of course, you've got like Iron Man 55 and those sort of things. Or classic one here, Captain Marvel 26. That's mentioned obviously there. Thanos. I love that issue. Great issue. Special Marvel Edition 15. But you might suddenly find that certainly, obviously, they did a lot of reprint books. They're not mentioned as much. There's a few mentions of some, and some, of course, featured some very important characters and stories. You know, Marvel Spotlight 9. They produced loads. Marvel Premiere, Marvel Spotlight, etc. Just a great little book, that one. Twomorrows, of course. Brilliant company. This one's superb. My Life in the Kitchen. Just a beautiful, beautiful artwork all the way through. And it's just great because it's like a food guide. Lots of recipes and examples. And actually, there was a lovely one here. I love putting like cookies on the tea. So just odd mentions. You think, you know what? I've never done that. Never ever thought about putting my cookie or anything on tea to keep it warm. I suppose it's a good idea, but I mean, it's just odd. You're talking about hot chocolate and so on. Just all her experiences of going with all different types of food. I watched a video showing in Japan all the different not all of them, of course, but just food and travel logs. And I just thought of her work because she's just brilliant. Really, really lovely book. Worth checking out. Any of her books, just brilliant. This one's from, I didn't even realise, Dave's Comics. £13 it said there. davecomics.co.uk. Love that in Brighton. Brilliant shot. This series was one of my favourites. I just been thoroughly enjoying reading through this. I haven't read them all, but I've read a lot of them and they're just great. The Complete 8-Ball. This is issues 1 to 18 by Daniel Clowes. And it's just absolute masterpiece. Some just beautiful, obviously some colour, black and white, mainly sort of black and white, duotone, etc. Just page after page after page of, and I love this little section here. Modern cartoonist. I just love some of the ideas and things. Just brilliant. But this is just a beautiful, beautiful book all the way through. Obviously, lots of an introduction to the various stories, and it just great. If you're a fan of this book, and I bought quite a lot of the issues when they came out, and it's just very odd stories. I totally loved it. As soon as I saw this listed, I thought, you know, I must get this volume. The Complete 8-Ball. It's a real thick, chunky. You see there, the Complete 8-Ball. First 18 issues of the legendary series. And I think just perhaps the most important comic book to emerge from the 20th century. I'm not saying I go as far as that, but I think it's definitely up there. It is absolute, the funniest sad comics, or the saddest, funniest comics in the world. And they are. There is a very odd seminal work of the greatest artist in modern comics. An absolutely brilliant book. Fantagraphics, absolutely love that. Oh, another Twomorrows.com. This one's an odd one. Campy Comic Books. There's a bit of alliteration there. So you've got there Split, and of course you've got some variety of different characters. Colour and black and white. You've got Doc Savage. I love those books. Got a few of those. Not as many as I would like. I bought them at the time. Unfortunately, I haven't got them now. But here, Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel Split. Still. Man of Bronze, and I love these ones. Archie Superhero. Now, some of the stories are terrible. They are terrible. I'm not going to turn around and say, oh, they're masterpieces. but they're still absolutely fascinating. And this one is a lovely book of some truly this sort of thing, album, soundtrack, album, sort of things. Or the Riddler, got the Riddler there, Jimmy Olsen, and many, many more. Dinky Duck. Was that a TV series? I assume. Deputy Dog. Deputy Dog. I love those. No, I can't remember. Must admit, Dinky Duck, I do not recall. The Mighty Hercules, I vaguely remember that. And also, of course, Shazam, Space Ghost. I love Space Ghost. And all those ones. Alex Toss. Brilliant. Just a lovely little book, this one. And you got there on the back there, you can see lots of details. Welcome to the cam page. It says, bam, Zowie. And of course, you've got Scooter, etc. Let's go for a few books on that pile. This one, The Art of Reginald Heed. Absolutely lovely. I think this is an absolutely brilliant book. Lots and lots of great covers all the way through. I love books with covers. So hopefully that won't get me what's the name for this video. The Vice Rackets of Soho. You can sort of see it. Sultry Love. You're dead, my lovely. So they would have made great film noir titles. They probably did have those great titles as well. Baby Don't Love Hoodlums. Great. Just it's got the details, obviously the art, not the artist, but the writer, and also the publisher, and also the date as well, which is always, of course, very handy. US editions and tons. This Woman is Death, and so on, so on. Just really great. Now there is also a volume 2 which I haven't got of this one, The Art of Reginald Heed. This is a lovely one. Yeah, another Twomorrows. And this one I just thought must show because it's hardback. Why sometimes they come out in hardback, sometimes in softback, no idea. I really can't work it out. But still, again, you can always get them in digital version. That's the key thing. If you can't find, but this one obviously is not vast amounts about comics, but it's just full, obviously American predominantly, and obviously some slightly obviously different from that. The first Est Noel, but you got all these sort of things. Howdy Doody. Those sort of things again. Mighty Mouse, The Animals, Merry Christmas, Frosty the Snowman. So there's a lot, but also there's lots of books. The Wonderful Game of Oz, as well as Santa Claus Funnies, Roy Rogers ones. Just lovely. I love comic books from the Christmas ones. I've got a number of comic books that are Christmas ones. Lauren Hardy and so on. This book is just lovely. If you're into Christmas, it's got like all the cartoons and things. Of course, some I've seen, some I haven't seen. Don't get shown, particularly in the UK, particularly. Sometimes you see them, but not so common. I can't imagine some of these that sort of one would ever turn up on UK TV. Might be wrong on that. Who knows? This one is one I haven't read. I have to say it's very, very confusing. The artwork is amazing, but I haven't read it. I actually got it because I saw a brilliant K-Fab video talking about it. This is Humanoids. And I thought, wow, I must get that. But wow, this is a tome and a half. Deluxe black and white edition. And it is pretty impressive. The artwork is amazing, but it's real sort of hard going. I don't think I will ever sit down and actually genuinely read it. But still, I mean, just amazing artwork all the same. So this one's a nice, thick, chunky book. Now it is in English, which is good. It's not a French version, so worth checking out. But yeah, must be not the easiest of reads. This one weighs a ton, and it's of course from Taschen. Virtually all Taschen books, unless you go for the small ones, always weigh a ton. And this one is just glorious. I love Winsor McCay, just superb. And you can see 1905 to 1927. It's a thick tome, all full of just beautiful artwork all the way through. And you've got lots and lots of information behind the scenes, as well as obviously about Gertie, etc. And also lots of original art pages. Dino there, it says there. I love the way it's done. It's sort of like an original, sort of like all the newspapers, just beautiful. And then you've got the actual stories, and it's just beautifully done. Really, but weighs an absolute ton, page after brilliant Little Nemo in Slumberland. I just love the artwork. It's just so inventive all the way through. Again, I haven't read every single story, but it's one of those ones that I quite often pick up and dip into and think, wow, amazing. Because of course that's one thing. They're one pages. You can just sort of think, beautiful, absolutely beautiful artwork. But it's not a light read, I have to say. And I'm just going to move that over there. Now these ones, you always think, oh crumbs, they're quite hefty as well. But compared with that, the little Nemo one and Taschen ones do have a tendency to be very heavy, very high quality. And that's what I love about them. But at the same time, doesn't make it sort of not one for a casual pick up and walk around the house. This one's lovely. The Absolute Batman, Killing Joke. Superb story, fascinating. Joker, of course, brilliant. Brian Bolland there. And it's a slipcase, which means I'm not going to probably be able to, because I can never get slipcases out. I know there's a skill about doing it, holding it and then pulling it out. But there you got, obviously, it is a really nice, beautiful volume. Now, I read the story many, many years ago, and I think this is a quality book all the way through. Look at the artwork. Really beautiful, quality artwork. Nice glossy there. But then you've got here, original pages as well, which is really nice. So very unusual to actually include the original pages, the original comic books. Just think that's just a nice, nice touch. And you also got scripts. And also scripts all the way through. Actually, quite a good percentage. Now, I admit I haven't gone through all the script. That would be quite hard. I mean, but I guess that if you're a real fan of Alan Moore, you're going to go and read all this. But I just thought, oh, that is a lot of information. There's a bit of bonus material, obviously, at the back. You've got some more covers. It's a lovely book all the time. This is a real high quality, like a lot of the Absolute ones. I think the Absolute ones, I think they've done a really 30th anniversary edition. I always think they should do that. Whenever they bring out these books, it is great to have the scripts. Though sometimes when you look at them and think, that is a lot. You can see the size of the script compared with the actual comic book itself. So you'd have to be very dedicated to go through that and read all that. I wonder how many people have. I'm certain there are lots of people that have gone through that, but that's a lot. Well, I suppose not more than a standard book, I suppose, but it just looks a lot to read. And I don't know what's inside. Ooh. So it's just going to come out. There's also something else here. Oh, just a little leaflet about that. Now, I won't put that back in there because I probably can't get that back in. And I'll be struggling for the next hour trying to get that back in. I love this. This is lovely. Pulp Power. I was waiting for ages and ages. And again, Abraham's got a theme here. I do love a lot of their books. And I love the pulps. Obviously, Doc Savage, The Shadow, all those ones. And this has just got some really beautiful artwork all the way through. Tons and tons of information about, also illustrations inside as well. I mean, just beautiful all the way through. Classic works. The Shadow there. Just beautiful book. This one, Doc Savage, of course. I think it's got so many brilliant examples of the work. I love it. Absolute. It's a nice thick tome. I think it's got everything. I think it's a complete one, which is really impressive. You can see there the Shadow, Doc Savage, and the art of the Street and Smith universe. Though, sadly, it doesn't include everything of their works, the Street and Smith. I think Street and Smith produced, there was loads, like romance books, loads of stuff. Of course, that doesn't really sort of fit in there. Most people are not interested. I think it's like, I don't know, you've got here The Whisperer. But there was like love romances or love stories, those sort of things. There were thousands and thousands and thousands of those produced. And I think that was from Street and Smith. So but he's also got comics as well, Shadow Comics. So I don't think it includes every single bit of everything they ever did. But certainly the major sort of The Shadow and Doc Savage. If you're into that, this book is just a must have. Classic book. I love this one. Darwin Cook. And again, I'm going to have to get this out. This is, so you've got slipcase. I love slipcases, but it does mean you can't put them down and the book on down, it suddenly will squeeze and crush. Wow. Darwin Cook, The New Frontier. Just such a beautiful book, this one. And this one, I had to get the Absolute. I did have the original. I loved that. That was just one of my favourite comic books. In many ways, I should have kept both, because I think the artwork, though it is superb, it's a masterpiece. Absolute masterpiece. Some ways works better in a slightly smaller format, but still, I just loved it. This is just one, like Superman, Green Lantern, all sort of like 1957, 58. It's got that feel, that sort of like 50s, 60s. The Men Who Fell to Earth. I wonder whether that's a bit similar to a certain title, but just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful artwork. Darwin Cook was one of the greatest. For me, I've got loads of Darwin Cook's works, obviously Parker, etc. And it's just masterpiece. And also includes a lot of bonus material. You've got lots of examples at the back, which is really good. And Green Lantern, of course, showing the period. It's got lots of details about all the, the various things behind it. Bonus material as well, the back, and other stories and bits and pieces, thumbnails. You've got lots in this. Just, again, absolutes, really nicely done. This one is just a beautiful Darwin Cook, a really, and of course, brilliant Dave Stewart. The artwork, the colour. The colouring is just, colouring I think adds to it. If you don't get the colouring right, sometimes the greatest artist in the world, sometimes you've just got the colour, some just takes it to another level. And for me, Absolute Frontier was one of the greatest. I love that. Let's just put that over there. And so again, got another slipcase. I'm not a keen fan. I mean, I love them. And at the same time, they have a slight hassle when you put in storage, put in those slipcases. I'm certain other people love slipcases. They just gives a special quality to a book. This one is unusual, and I don't know. There must have been, I assume. And this is again my favourite, Abraham's again, comic arts. But there might have been a sleeve to this. I don't know. I'm just assuming there was, because it just seems a bit odd. Just having that and then just that. Who would sell that? It just doesn't seem to make sense. But it is full of just so many brilliant newspaper strips. Just page after page of some unique, and I love American newspaper strips. They are just fascinating. Just you pick them up and just read through some of the stories. Just, there's so much obviously of their time. Then there's sort of very unusual ones, and some, you think, oh my, where did, and you've got beautiful inked page there. The 20s, sort of stuff. I love the 20s, 30s America. Just so, and these sort of beautiful artwork all the way through it. Fascinating short snapshot, this sort of thing as well. I think it's Sonny Sue. Just stunning artwork. Absolutely brilliant. You've got Flash Gordon, Jungle Jim, you've got Popeye, Little Abner, and so on. This is a real thick, amazing tome from Brian Walker. Just love that. This one's an unusual one. This sort of finished off the Bernie Wrightson. So it's not the early material, Bernie Wrightson, Frankenstein. When I bought it, that's what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be the complete, but it wasn't. But still, it is actually very good. And the thing is weird, it's not, also it's got Kelly Jones as well. I actually quite like you can really tell the difference where it suddenly changes. Obviously, Bernie Wrightson dying, Kelly Jones continued it on, and it is amazing work. But it's still, at the same time, possibly not the same as, of course, the classic Bernie Wrightson back when Frankenstein first came out. I just think that was just some of the most, but it's still full. I mean, look at that, just beautiful panels. So this is a nice volume, and this one is from IDW. But it's worth checking out. This collection includes the 4-issue series along with extended gallery selection and so on. So you can see the details there. Classic pairing of Steve Niles and Bernie Wrightson and Kelly Jones, of course, at the end. Just absolutely brilliant book, but not exactly what I thought. I would love to see them bring out the Frankenstein. They're so, that's one of the classic works, and yet weirdly does not seem to be readily available anymore. Very odd. Comic books are like that. Comic sort of books on, and you think, why? Oh, why? That should be literally in print forever, all the time. But I guess there's reasons why things are not. But still, Alice in Sunderland. My mate comes from Sunderland. I don't think he's got it. I keep mentioning to him, why didn't he get it? I do not know. This is just a fascinating read. This is one of the weirdest, oddest comics books ever. Just so much superb art. You've got Alice obviously there. It's a jumble of weird styles all the way through it. I mean, it's an absolute masterpiece. You've got Bede. I mean, how many comic books have Bede and the Romans, everything. Oh, yeah, the Romans. I knew the Romans would get there. So I guess that's obviously what it was called just back then. Just wow. I mean, it's just like literally so many Jabberwocky. I mean, wow. So many different styles all the way through. This is one of the great centres of learning, it says, of Christendom. And this is a masterpiece, an absolute masterpiece. Now, I always wish Alice in Maidstone. Why? That's what we need. Someone to bring out a massive tome, like something like that. Obviously, maybe not that one now, but still, some book that was. We did have a comic book that was in Maidstone, and it was great. I mean, it was nice to see. But this book, obviously, Brian Talbot is just stunning. If only Maidstone had a book as brilliant as this, I mean, it would be just amazing. Heady cocktail of fact and fiction. Just wow is the only word to describe it. It's just the oddest of read. I loved it. Absolutely loved this. Jonathan Cape. Really worth checking out. It should be readily available, I'm certain. Maybe it isn't. I don't know. This one's lovely. Friday Foster. It took forever to come out. I was waiting. But wow, what a lovely book this one is. The Sunday strips. Ablaze. They've been bringing out a lot of them. They brought Conan ones. I love those Conan ones. And this one is an absolutely masterpiece. Lots of great essays. Lots of great artwork as well. Friday, you got the front. Just beautiful story, brilliant, fascinating all the way through, and very nice, high quality book. Really love this one. This is just an absolute excellent classic book, and I love comic strips like this sort of style. So I wish they bring out more sort of Ablaze. I don't know if they brought any more sort of volumes like this. Would be nice if they did bring out some more sort of ones. I mean, IDW of course bring out loads of these comic strip ones, but this one I think is a pretty amazing. So anyway, that's this one's lovely. Now I've got a series of these books, and I don't know why this is out of place, but always the way when I do these sort of things. This one's the Chilling Archives of Horror Comics. I think it's about 18 or 20 in the series. Obviously not called Return of the Zombies, but Chilling Archives, and it's of course from my favourite Yo Books. I love these books, and again IDW. Strange enough. But it's full of some really great stories. You've got some real classic. Now, I don't know if it's been cleaned up in particularly any way. I mean, they are quite reasonably nice quality ones. They're not. Sometimes you can look at it and you can see a slight sort of roughness to it. But generally, I find the quality very, very nice. And I think it's also what I like about them is this sort of thing. You've also got like original inked pages as well, which is always a nice touch. Really beautiful book. Lots and lots of stories about zombies. So if you're into zombies, obviously not the Walking Dead zombies like the TV series, but still, I think this is just a great one. They're all 1950s stories. So you've got 1950s stories there, condemned by the Senate, as it says there. And finally, yet to read this one. But Jack Williamson, I loved his work. Loved all the science fiction stories. I read loads of them when I was younger. I would go through all those. So as soon as I saw this list, I thought, I must get that. Jack Williamson, I'd never realised that he'd done a comic book. So I bought it, but yet to read it, I must admit. This is Lee Elias. And it's unusual, looks quite unusual style. This is obviously, again, another newspaper strip one. The New York Sunday News, it says there. One of the rarest Sunday adventure strips, created in 1952. And it's, quite unusual. So you can see comic strip story there, Beyond Mars. So you've got page after page. Some really, really sharp quality. They all look very, very good. But again, I haven't read the story, so I have no idea what it's about at all. It doesn't actually say there. But it does, of course, have a good old article at the start, which is always, of course, very handy. So that's the bookshelf tour today. Well, I should say again, let's say the pile of books that's next to me. Now I'm going to have to resettle them all again, put them up so it's sort of like a nice soundproofing. If you've got any books in there that you think, I'd love to see sort of a proper review of, please let me know in the comments below. Always great to hear from you. So that's, of course, always a way. It will probably be the one right at the bottom of the pile. Quite often I get someone says, could you do nothing? It's always the one right at the bottom. Or I spend 4 hours looking for it. Not that long. But sometimes, of course, I haven't got, so I don't know where they all are. And you sort of end up thinking, where is it? I'm certain it was in that pile. Anyway, I hope you found this of interest. Bye.